Hey loves. Well, thank you so much for bearing with me. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I'm doing this as a pre-record. The first thing is that Zoom has been down for the past couple of days, and every time I try to invite people into meetings, we just get thrown out. And I just thought I don't need the stress of everyone trying to get onto a meeting and then it go down. And then in my work, I've been kind of continuing by doing it all on WhatsApp video, but Zoom has still been in and out. Plus, I've got a whole host of builders and decorators in at my house, and there's just stuff everywhere, right? And I feel like the message of what that is and how that has been has literally kind of feels like that for so many other people, that we've all got all this kind of stuff going on. It's all quite up in the air, and there's kind of just disorganization and things all over the place. So I thought, I'm going to create this recording, I'm going to get it all ready for you, and then I'm going to send it over. So that way it's ready and it's ready to go, and you can watch it in your ease without the pressure and the stress of thinking, will the Zoom work? So yeah, so much to tell you. The new moon was Tuesday, the 21st. It was about 20 past 1. And a new moon is when the sun and the moon meet together. So they create the most beautiful alignment. And today they met at the 28 degrees of Libra. So we've actually only got one more day of Libra season, and then we're in Scorpio season. Now, obviously, as a Scorpio, I'm a little bit biased. I love Scorpio season. It's a good time to kind of get dark, go down, go inwards, get some true introspections, and really kind of focus on your darkness a little bit. However, we're not there yet. We are here at this new moon, and what a perfect energy. What a perfect energy to set some new intentions, some goals, some visions for your life. And I want you to see this as a brand new start, right? This is the perfect opportunity for you to start again, but with a new and refined focus in your life. And if, like me, you've got quite a few things up in the air, you've got things, just not quite landed, not sure where you're going, not sure what you're doing, that's all right, right? We're all in this together, and that's okay not to have it figured out. Because remember, this year was always about endings and beginnings. It was always about kind of wrapping up a lot. And we're in the kind of midst, a couple of the planets are still retrograde, which is really testing us, because they're going back into that last degree of what we've talked about so much in Pisces, in Taurus, and they are kind of like just checking that we've learned the lessons. And I was talking to someone today, and she said, it's like, how many times do I need to do the same lesson? Well, we keep getting the same lessons until we realize and we learn and we go about it a different way. So for those of you that have joined me over the last 3 months, we have all been on this ride, which is the eclipse. And even the last full moon was a super moon, which was intense. It was so full of fire. It was Aries. It was supercharged. And that also marked the ending of that last eclipse, the last eclipse cycle from the year previous. So, with all of that intensity of eclipse season, this new moon in Libra is kind of asking you to center yourself, to create inner harmony. And I suppose just the need to learn and manage and support your nervous system. Now, essentially, it really asks you to come into this place of balance. It comes into a place of stillness, into whatever that means for you, right? Because we can continue to ride the waves in this white knuckle kind of like stressful way, or we can try and come back to a place of ease. We can try and ground ourselves into a place of ease. Now, Libra is that sign of balance. It's signified by the scales. And Libra really is the house of relationships. It's the sign that rules the relationships, the 7th house of connections and partnerships. And so this is the perfect new moon if you feel called to call in a relationship. What that looks like, what that feels like, to manifest that relationship, to set up an altar for that relationship, but to really focus on what you're calling in, right? And I did this with a friend 5 years ago, and they are together and they are moving in. And, you know, I cannot express how powerful intentions are. And if you want to invite in a new relationship, this is the perfect time to do it, because Libra, of course, is ruled by Venus, and Venus is all in all around love, about connection, about calling in that love and that needs for us to find that person. Now, Libra comes from the Latin word, which is basically a translation of the pair of scales. And that pair of scales is a symbol that we can really identify as kind of finding more balance and a desire for balance within all of the areas and aspects of our lives, right? And so these scales kind of represent that Libra energy constantly, and how we all are honestly constantly on that quest for equilibrium, for that balance within our life. Now, most Libras, they'll have a really strong sense of right and wrong, and what's right and what's fair. And they are natural negotiators, and they're very, very good at standing up for other people, but they're not always that great at standing up for themselves, right? They don't like to have arguments. And so more than often, they'll create that argument within themselves, inside of themselves. Now, they really love to have things at ease. They don't like to rock the boat. They like to keep the peace. They like to kind of see everything from both sides, and so they make great kind of mediators, and they really thrive in partnerships, and they are really known for how they look, how they dress, how they style things. They have an amazing love for creativity, for art, for fashion, for how they look and feel, and they can really create like amazing, pleasing environments and spaces. And so, you know, we are really tuning into this last part of these Libra energy and thinking about where we need more balance. Where do you need more balance in your life? Where do you need more balance of what you give to others, to yourself? Thinking also about the negative of this is like, where is your people pleasing? Where has your people pleasing been? And maybe thinking about the relationships in your life, because the last couple of months and the eclipses will have definitely revealed truths about yourself, truths about your relationships, maybe things that you haven't seen before. Maybe you've discovered where you've been giving your power away, or maybe where you've been playing small just to keep the peace, where you have been people pleasing. Perhaps you've seen other partnerships that you didn't expect to grow and others to fall away. Right? But what Libra season is maybe asking and calling you to look at where you have been stuck in old patterns. And it's an opportunity for you to give the space and the light, to shine the light onto these insights and maybe adjust to a new way of being. Now, Libra within the body rules the kidneys, the lower back, the hips, and the endocrine system, right? So this is, again, if our endocrine system is out of balance, then we are out of balance. And often what I see with the somatic work that I do is that if people are out of balance, they'll tend to carry it in certain areas, right? The hips, the lower back, often the shoulders as well. But one of the big signs when we look at kind of somatic illness around the kidneys is if you get constant urine infections or UTIs or water infection, kidney infections, all that areas. Do you know what that is? That is people pleasing. That is being pissed off, right? You are literally pissed off. You are holding that feelings, that anger, that emotion internally. And so just noticing that and thinking about your body and your system coming into a place of calm, coming into a place of balance. So this is the perfect opportunity to bring your life back into a place of balance. It is an opportunity, you know, it's getting darker, we're going in, the clock's changed this Sunday, you know, we're slowing down. It's time for a reset. It's time to come back into balance. And it's kind of that awareness on your life and all of the aspects of, you know, where you give too much, where you need to bring it back. And balance isn't just about being neutral. Balance isn't about passive. It is actually about standing firm. It is about having boundaries. It's about knowing your own power, but while remaining open to the connection, right? It's knowing when to compromise, when picking the battles, when not to. It's about knowing when to just, understand that you can honor somebody else's truth without abandoning your own. And that's really important, because that's literally the opposite of giving your power away. So here in this kind of new moon, there's a sense for you to think about that and for you to connect into your true center, for you to become magnetic. So let's just take a minute. Let's just tune into our center for a moment. Let's just find our little balance, whatever that means for you. And see if you can place one hand on your heart and one hand onto your belly. Taking a big deep breath in and a big sigh. And just taking that moment just to remember your body, rooting yourself into the chair in which you sit, really leaning your bones back. And just take a couple of breaths as you deepen your breath and you draw it inwards, and then blowing out through your lips as if you're blowing all of that stress away. Allowing your shoulders to just melt. And releasing both of your hands so that you notice both of your hands sitting into the swell of your stomach. And finding yourself with just a moment for your breath, with just a moment for yourself. Because the body is the most amazing indicator. And the body speaks and then the mind labels. So it's always the body that goes first. And so the moment we stop and we take these opportunities of stillness, the more we can start to feel into the shifts in regulation. And so when your nervous system is balanced, is regulated, not only are you peaceful, but you are actually magnetic. And that's what we say, is that we can draw anything then to us. But when we're out of balance, that's when we can just get lost. We can allow the mind to take over, labeling and getting carried away with stories and beliefs and old patterns. And it's only really when we invite ourselves a moment of stillness that we can start to find that balance and know the difference between the two. And so starting to listen to your body, to this most amazing guide, as you start to slow down so that you can listen to your intuition and to your senses. And finding what it is within your center. Now let's release the hands down to the chair or wherever you are, and take an inhale as you sweep those hands up to the sky. Nice big stretch, and then exhale as you bring them down. Roll your shoulders back and down. Let's take an inhale as we lift up, and exhale. Lovely. One more, breathing in and breathing out. Very nice. Okay. So, what I want you to think about, first of all, is where you're out of balance. Now, life is always going to come along. It's always going to knock you off center, right? And that's part of being human, but it's about the resilience of you being able to find your way back to your center over and over and over again. And so what I would love you to do is look at where you're out of balance, where you've been all give and no receiving, all work and no play, or all play and no work, where you've been all logic and no intuition, right? Or perhaps the opposite. So I want you to bring some awareness and write down without judgment where you need to bring more balance into your life, right? And this is not a criticism or a judgment, but it's just a sense of like, right, what's out of balance and what can I bring back? So pop this on pause and write that answer out. Okay, so welcome back. So this new moon is also asking us to understand the importance and the power of our nervous system, right? So when our nervous system is activated, we can feel that heightened sense of awareness. When we're relaxed, the answers to our questions and our problems, they can just arrive, right? When we're calm, opportunities and work just seems to come. But when we're stressed and we're heightened, don't you find that so much more stress and panic and issues happen? And this is like the biggest showcase. So if you think about a time or a period in your life when you're super balanced and things just flowed, but when you're out of whack, your whole energy, your whole nervous system, everything else kind of mirrors it. And so what I want you to think about is, how are you going to stay into this place of stillness? What practices, what rituals, what routine, what is it that you need to do? Even if it's just stopping twice a day, set an alarm on your phone and taking 10 breaths just to regulate yourself. Because what I want you to start to notice is the times and the situations when you're not regulated, the times and the situations when you are out of balance, and how that impacts the rest of your day. Because the more that we bring this into our awareness, the more we can work with it, the more we can learn, the more we can pick up on these signals, the more we can kind of expand our learning and our growth. So when your nervous system is kind of calibrated, when you are grounded, when you are peaceful, you vibrate at a frequency to attract things to you. Now, this attraction, is proven now. This is science. And so when we're stressed, we're going to kind of get trapped in this lower kind of vibration of fear. And then all you get is the negative coming back and back and back. Now, this is most kind of seen, and the best place to see this is around the people that you're with. So if there are people that you are with and they don't make you feel centered, and they don't make you feel grounded, and they don't make you feel good, then these are not your people, right? Because you're not supposed to feel that way. You're supposed to feel centered. You're supposed to feel rooted. You're supposed to feel like you can be yourself. And so when you are in relationship with anyone, that exhaustion of the stress and the body, they can drain you, right? And so what I want you to think about, and what I want you to come back, is to think about the relationships within your life that are draining. Because by constantly looking at the relationships and the people and the situationships around your life, figuring out the balance, figuring out your nervous system, they can bring so much of a yes or a no answer. So by returning back, and again, we stop chasing and we start attracting. We stop forcing and we start allowing. And all of our creativity and our channels just flow, because we've not got all of this other energy trying to figure out what else is going on. So I want you to really think about that. Just think about, maybe there's some people that are just not bringing you that same feeling. And maybe there isn't anyone, but there's just something that feels off. And again, just the more, every time you meet up with somebody, how does it make me feel? Because the more we do that, the more we can just see how that impacts. And so that's the next question. Thinking about all of the relationships in your life and the connections. You know, where do you need the shifts? Who needs to stay? Who needs to go? Who do you need to spend more time with? Who do you need to spend less with? Just thinking about the relationships that are bringing you more harmony and creating that harmony. Who's in and who's out? Pop me on pause and off you go. Okay, now welcome back. So this new moon is the perfect new moon to draw things towards you. Now, I want you to think about, and I was saying this in one of my classes today, that everything you say, everything you think about, everything you do around this energy is drawing things towards you, like your words are your prayers, that everything you say and you are manifesting and you are creating. And so what I want you to think about is just one thing, right? Not 10 things, not 20 things, 30 things. We've got all these things in the air. What one thing under this new moon are you going to focus on? That you want to create, that you want to achieve, that you want to do, that you want to switch to? What is that one thing? Because the more we focus our attention on just one thing, the more powerful that is. So then pop me on mute and get clear and get clarity on that one thing. Off you go. Okay, so I've got a couple of things that I wanted to go through. My little favourite book that I lost forever. And I wanted to read his interpretation of this moon. So, where is the little phase? In the new moon phase, the focus of the Libra moon is on justice, and it will swing back soon enough, right? And the focus of the new moon is the principle of right and wrong, and it becomes part of what we can be so heavily invested in, right? It's about what's ethical and what's fair. And what he dislikes in conflict more often is what he sees within himself. And so what this is about is if we go around continually complaining of the unfairness of things and do nothing about it, then who's to blame, really? And so I suppose where this really kind of touched me, or where I felt, was there's so much division in the world, right? There's so much division out there. Whether you're Labour, whether you're Reform, whether you're Tory, whatever you are, if you're a royalist, or whether you think Prince Andrew should, resign, or, whatever, there's so many areas within our world that we live in where we're pitched against each other. And I remember back in the day where we could just agree to like different things and that was okay, but we live in a world now where that division isn't okay. But actually it is, because that's just how we're being manipulated. And so what I want you to remember is that, through that kind of divisive programming, it's like a tactic of war. It's divide and conquer. It's so unnatural and so uncomfortable that we just need to remember that we're all still filled with love and connection, and we can kind of love without actually getting caught up in the division, right? In the way that they want to divide us and conquer us. And so, sometimes it's just about stepping out of that and staying in this sense of embodiment and calmness. Maybe looking to why that other person is triggering you so much and their opinions are so different. But then there's true healing in not buying into that level of splintering and division, right? And It's like we're giving our power away by getting mad that this other person doesn't think the way that we do. But no, we do. We can take that power back, and we can keep that power and just accept that it's okay to be different and to have a different opinion. So that was the real emphasis of this moon, that just something for you to think about over the next couple of weeks. Now, this Libra new moon comes with the energy of what we call a grand water trine. And so we've got Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn, which is retrograde in Pisces, and Mars, which is in Mercury in Scorpio. And so all of this water, it can be emotional, right? It can be digging down to layers of forgiveness, layers of emotion, layers of things that we have carried and emotions that we have stored inside. Now, it's a beautiful opportunity for us to heal. It's a beautiful opportunity for us to remember that our emotions are powerful. And I was working with a client the other day, and he said that he'd been really shamed actually for being emotional. That was seen as a really negative thing at work. But emotions are super powerful, right? And they can guide us and they can show us the way. And so what I want you to think about is that Mercury and Neptune are asking us to communicate and focus and tell ourselves that future dream and that future vision and that opportunity for us to all live together in harmony, in peace, in alignment, right? And then we've got, where's my little notes? Jupiter in that opportunity with it sitting in Cancer is around us using this as lessons in self-care and taking care of ourselves and loving each other and nurturing each other rather than coming against each other. So there's so much about in the outer world of the unbalanced power into us stepping into our own awareness. And then we've got Chiron, which is in Aries, which is when we're looking at the real deep meanings of Chiron in Aries, this is about where we've been a victim, in the sense of the self of who we are and where we step into victim behavior. We all do it a little bit. So it's bringing and shining a bit of a light into that. So everything that we create on the inside, if we're in victim mentality in the inside, then we're projecting elements of that victim mentality on the outside. And so, as we can see from the world, there's all just chaos kind of going on outside, all that systems and structures, and they're all falling apart. There's a lot of noise, there's a lot of process, and we can get caught up in the victim of that, and we can focus on that and the craziness of that. But as the more we have a sense of focus on the world in which you want to live in for your own life, the more that we can create it. And because Neptune is at 0 degrees of Aries, this is what we call the creator degree. So like I said, not only is this new moon, but we've also got it in a line with Neptune at 0 degrees, which is the creator degree. I want you to believe that you can create literally anything you want, anything you need. And I want you to also realize that our lives are running on a bit of a timeline. So I'm going to try and share this with you, and I've watched quite a few videos on just trying to explain how it is, but I felt like this awareness of a timeline. And so what is a timeline? And so from my perspective of how I see it and how I've been feeling it over the last couple of months, I have been dropped into a variety of versions of previous situations of my own life. Now let me explain. From 2007, I worked for an Italian brand, right? And started off just in the restaurant, and then I got promoted to a marketing team. And I worked in a restaurant, in a town, in a place, and then 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was back in that place, right? And there I was. And the same customers were coming in. I was there like on a different, but it was the same people. It was the same situation. And it was like I was looking at my life like 12, 13 years ago, and it was weird. And it was like, this was the life I had, these were the people I was with, this was the pattern, this is where I was, but I'm not on this anymore. And so it was really quite eerie. And then I went to another, where I then went on to a different cocktail bar, And then I was back in that life. And it was like, if I would have stayed on that trajectory, that was my life, that was my outcome, that was my role, those were my people, that was my way. And there was nothing wrong with that. And the same with the next timeline there. But I've been shown about 3 or 4, and it's kind of made me realize, and I know that this might sound quite out there, but in these moments, what I thought and what I wanted and what I focused upon, I switched my timeline, whether that be with job, with relationships, with friendships, with connections, with where I lived, with everything. And so what I want you to really think about is that our lives could be running in a Truman Show style, multiple different ways of how our life could be. And if we think negatively, we can go down the negative. And if we think positively, we can go all the way. Because if you think about how much we've changed and we've shifted, and I think about my own life, like, it has shifted unbelievably in 12 months. And so what I want you to think about is you literally can shapeshift your way into another timeline, into another direction for your life in any which way possible. And so I want you to realize that. I want you to remember the versions of your old self and then step in and think about the versions of the new, of what you're creating. It's that powerful. Okay, now, Pluto is shifted back into Aquarius. Now, this is said to have been like one of the biggest, because it's really rooted now in Aquarius. It's going to be here till 2044, June 2044. And it was very, very interesting during that retrograde period, how very kind of cleansing. And you have to remember that Pluto is the planet of birth, death, and transformation. And so anything that wasn't right, it was going to be cleansed, cleaned, and ripped out for our highest good, for us to be reborn, right? It's a very, very cleansing space, very much for us to kind of rise from the ashes. And so really thinking about, again, you might feel like you've gone through that in so many different areas of your life. Now, Pluto is semi-square to the North Node, and this is kind of directing us all collectively towards a more spiritual life, to a more kind of connected and awakened life. It's potentially asking us to question old beliefs, old systems, old structures, where the power has lied, into where the power does lie, which is truly within ourselves. And it's a chance and an opportunity for us to realize that true power within the world, and where we have been giving it away to other people, to governments, to other systems, but where we need to say and stand and say, absolutely no more. So Pluto is in Aquarius, and this is such an awareness of the control with technology. And even now I'm recording this because the majority of systems are all held on the same system, and it's been hacked, or whatever they're saying it is. I don't know, because I don't watch the telly, but all of that system of Amazon and Zoom and Snapchat and all of the others have all gone down. Why is that? Because it's all the same big and so I suppose it's just about realizing, you know, the dangers of the digital ID, the dangers of the control. And Pluto in Aquarius is fighting for that truth, fighting for the underdog, for us to not be in that control. And so we will no longer suffer that kind of top-down structure, and it's going to be a ride, and we're here for it, right? Because we're from November 19th last year until now, we're really in it. We're really in it, and we can feel it. And it's building up to big change. And so then I just want to touch on the last little thing, which is I've kind of gone down the whole comet. So remember I talked about Three-Eye Atlas, which isn't a comet. They don't know what it is, but it looks a bit like a comet. Well, right now, I was listening to just the start of a YouTube with Pam Gregory, and she was referring to Stephen Burns, who does a daily update. Now, this non-comet, whatever it is, they don't really know what it is currently being blocked by the glare of the sun. So, you know, like when the sun comes down super low and you can't see anything, It's kind of being blocked, so we're unable to see it. And it is getting really close to us in its closest trajectory as it moves through into October, into its closest point, which will be on the winter solstice, which is 19th or 20th of December. And so, we have this three-eye atlas. Now, it has a plasma tail, so that's why it could be a comet. But we also have 6 other comets at the same time. Now, both Pam and Stephen Burns, when they did a little YouTube together, suggested that this could be raising for our heart chakra because it has changed colour to green. And it is coming so close into our solar system. But we also have 6 other comets, which got me thinking was, what if each of those comets were for removing and activating all of the 7 chakras within our bodies? Like, what is? Now, Pam Gregory really feels like this is bringing in high level information, and it's very, very beneficial because it's not necessarily behaving like a comet, but it's in a line on the day of this new moon, and it is flying towards Earth. It's within the solar system. So I started having a little Google, so just wanted to pass on. A comet is like a large, what they call it's like described as like a snowball. I watched a few videos on what a comet is. So traditionally, a comet is like a body of like dust and rock and debris, and they call it like a dirty snowball. And as it approaches the sun, the ice and the gas vaporize, and it creates a glow, like a kind of gaseous kind of head and a long tail. And it can be seen, and it can be millions and millions of miles long. Now, these ancient objects are leftovers from the formation of the solar system, and they can be like billions and billions and billions of years old. They can also be a source of water, organic compounds for other planets. So, like, if it isn't necessarily a comet, then it's something. So again, if you want to go dive deep into Three-Eye Atlas, then why not? Stephen Burns is doing, and he talks a bit about astrology as well. So it's a really kind of beautiful thing just to think, what to think that if outer beings, because I went down the alien rabbit hole a few months ago, but also that there is this energy in this shift, not only just for us humans, but for Earth and for everyone, to raise our whole vibrations. So I'm going to end it here. I'm going to say thank you so much. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have got your focus and your clarity to keep working and driving and focusing on your one thing that you are drawing towards you. Because sometimes we just need one thing to focus on, just that one, and that's it. And then the rest of the time, just keeping ourselves in balance and knowing that it's okay to come out of balance, but using all of the tools to bring us back. And if we can just rest and balance, what more do we need? Because the more rested and the more balanced, the more on the inside, the more rested and more balanced we are on the outside. So I'm sending you so much love, and drop me a message if you like this. And otherwise, I will see you in 2 weeks for the full moon in Taurus. So yeah, see you then.